Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam So thank you for the opportunity to be here. There are not many, but a few Panchatattva mantras. So that's one of them. But Srila Prabhupada selected Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda for a regular chanting. So we are reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-lila Chapter 11, texts 27 and 28. Which one are there? Is one or two? Two. Both. Are both up there? Nityananda Smarpila Jati Kula Panti Nityananda Smarpila Jati Kula Panti Sri Chaitanya Nityanande Kari Pranapati Sri Chaitanya Nityanande Kari Pranapati Nityanande Samarpila Jati Kula Panti Nityanande Samarpila Jati Kula Panti Sri Chaitanya Nityanande Kari Pranapati Sri Chaitanya Nityanande Kari Pranapati 28, right? It's there. Nityananda Prabhura Priya Pandita Purandara Nityananda Prabhura Priya Pandita Purandara Premarnava Madhya Pire Jaichana Mandara Premarnava Madhya Pire Jaichana Mandara. Okay, so let's go word by word. Text 27. Nityanande to Lord Nityananda Samarpila he offered Jati caste distinction Kula family Panti fellowship Sri Chaitanya Lord Chaitanya Nityanande in Lord Nityananda Kari making Pranapati the lords of his life. Translation: making Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda the lords of his life, Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of Lord Nityananda, even the fellowship of his own family. Text 28. Please repeat. Nityananda, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Prabhuda of the Lord, Priya, very dear, Pandita Purandara, of the name Pandita Purandara, Premarnava Madhye, in the ocean of love of Godhead, Fire, moved, Jaichana, exactly like, Mandara, the Mandara hill. The 13th important devotee of Sri Nityananda Prabhu was Pandita Purandara, who moved in the ocean of love of Godhead, just like the Mandara hill. Purport. Pandita Purandara met Sri Nityananda Prabhu at Kadadaha. When Nityananda Prabhu visited this village, he danced very uncommonly. And his dancing captivated Purandara Pandita. The Pandita was in the top of a tree, and upon seeing the dancing of Nityananda, he jumped down on the ground, proclaiming himself to be Angada, one of the devotees in the camp of Hanuman during the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Om Tat Sat. So, Srila Prabhupada said that the Caitanya Caritamrita is like the PhD of devotional service. So, this is way beyond my level. But by the grace of Prabhupada, we're able to see these things by his descriptions. It is known that Prabhupada often credited his writings to his spiritual master. And several times he also said that he didn't write his books, that was Krishna that came and told him every single word. So although we may not, or I may not, be at the level of these sort of pastimes, still by reading them, there's something that we feel. And that something may go beyond the logic and even the intellectual capacity, but it's something that appeals to the soul. In this case, there is a description of one of the many devotees of the Caitanya Lila, Gauridas Pandit. To be honest, I didn't realize that today was Caitanya Caritamrita, so I prepared Bhagavatam class. So Krishna tricked us. I said, "Oh, I'm ready now." And then I thought, "Oh, God, Caitanya Caritamrita." But I was happy to be full like that. Basically, the same point applies, because in the Bhagavad Gita, once everything really started in chapter 2, after Krishna presents the basics, the ABC of a spiritual life, which is our identity. We're not the body, we're the spirit. When things start getting serious, one of the first questions that Arjuna asked to Krishna is, how can I identify a devotee? Basically. 254. Second question of Arjuna in chapter 2. And that same question is repeated throughout the Gita in different ways, in different angles. What happens with the transcendentalist if he or she fails? Right? In chapter 6, what happens? Right? He asks. Very relevant. Right? And then in chapter 14, text 21, if I'm not mistaken, he has the same question. How does someone transcend the modes of material nature? Arjuna wanted to know, how is a devotee? Right? So you may wonder, why do we want to know those things? First, because then we can test ourselves. Krishna explains in chapter 13 what Prabhupada called the 20 elements of knowledge, text 8 to 12. Amanitvam adambitvam. First you have to be humble, then you have to give up your pride. And then after doing all the rest of things, then we can say that we are in the path of becoming devotees. So one, as Prabhupada explains in that purport, is that we can check ourselves if we are actually in the right path, we're in the right movement. Is it this what I came for? Right? What did we come to this movement for? Maybe too long ago to remember for some of you. But one of the things that I prepared, because I thought it was Spartan class, my limited intelligence, is that in the Bhagavatam, in the third canto, we are reading about Vidura, right? Mahatma Vidura, and how he meets Uddhava. And it's incredible to read in sequence all these verses from the end of second canto to the beginning of the third canto. How they are talking about Krishna, And although Krishna is not there, right? It's Vidura asking Uddhava. When you read those verses, then you can perceive that Krishna is there. Right? He's not there, but he's there. How he's there? By remembrance. Right? Because Vidura asked Uddhava, where is Krishna? Actually, even before he started speaking, he was so moved that he couldn't speak. Right? It's like if somebody asks you about someone that you love and the person is very far away from you, or something has happened to that person, right? I mean, we have those experiences. And then someone asks you, where is such and such? Or you heard what happened to that devotee or that Mataji or something. And then you are moved because of the connection, the emotional connection. So in the same way, the Bhagavatam, and even more so in the Caritamrita, what is presented basically, apart from many other details that these books present, the philosophy that's presented in the Gita, and then the details and so many things that we find in the Bhagavatam, history, what else do we find in Bhagavatam? Astronomy, geography, right? So many things we find, right? It's interesting, for example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how in the purports, sometimes there are places, like here, it says this place, Kadadaha. And sometimes Prabhupada describes how to get to those places. Have you noticed? He says you go to this train station and then you, I don't know, cross the river, get the bus and whatever. And he takes the trouble to tell us that. Why would that be? Because he wanted us to go there, isn't it? There's a prediction, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, one day Westerners will learn Bengali so they can enter into the nectar of Caitanya Charitamrita. So here I am, a Latin trying to pronounce Bengali. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the idea of the Chaitanya Charitamrita particularly is to present the heart of the devotees. That's what it is. Right? Same Bhagavatam. What is this genius devotee, prabhu? Radhika Raman, who was homeschooled, and as he tells, the way that I was homeschooled is my mother reading Bhagavatam all day long to us, day and night. So that's why he's what he is. But he explains in the Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam series that the core, the heart of the Bhagavatam is the devotees. Because every canto has some incarnation. In the first canto we have a list of incarnations, the third chapter. Then in the different cantos, different incarnations appear. Right? But the real thing, the essence of these instructions, come through the lotus mouth of the devotees. Narada, first one in the first canto, chapter 4, 5, 6, that when he talks to Vyasadeva. And then he tells, it's so moving, how a little boy, a few years old, and he hasn't even seen Krishna. What did he do? He heard from the Bhaktivedantas. Right? He just heard. Right? There was the rainy season, and the Bhaktivedanta group, traveling Sankirtan party, had arrived. And it happened that they stay with Narada and his mother. And then they stay there during the 4 months, the Chatur Masya time. And they were fed by the mother. They would take some prasadam. And then he'll come and sometimes do some seva. And sometimes with their permission, he will eat some of the remnants, and then he will listen to the things that they were discussing, and then he listened, and then he saw, look how they behave, look how they relate. It's a certain glow. It's a certain glow that the devotees have, right? And the more advanced the devotees, the more that glow is there. And even fallen people like myself and others, sometimes we can see. I am very interested in the early memories of Prabhupada disciples, how they met Prabhupada like that. So I just tried to keep some, I didn't meet Prabhupada, and although as a young boy in New York I saw the devotees, 1971, I wish I could have seen Prabhupada. I saw him in dreams a couple of times. But many devotees said that when they saw Prabhupada walking in the place that they have attended, the program temple or so, it was very special. I have heard so many that said, that's it, that was it. They saw Prabhupada and that's it. I give my life to this person. And I don't know each one of your stories. I'm sure great stories. I remember in the All Back to Godhead, some of you may remember, there was a section somewhere in the middle, and I forgot the exact title, but it says, how did I join the Hare Krishna movement or something like that? So it was just like 1 or half page of that. And I remember as soon as I'll get it back to Godhead, I'll go and read that. That was the most nectarian thing. How somebody being a punk or a rock and roll, this, that, surfer or whatever, had become a devotee. And you can see the glow in these devotees' picture there. How it has changed. So the purpose of the Bhagavatam, the purpose of the Caitanya Caritamrita is to show what is a devotee. What did Arjuna ask in text 54? How does he talk? How does he walk? How does he sit? In chapter 14, what is his behavior? How he transcends. Right? He wanted to know. I mentioned the first reason is because we want to check, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Huh? All right? Another reason why we need to know who is a devotee and how to recognize a devotee is to take association. To accept a spiritual master. Krishna says, look for that person, tat vidi. Therefore, look for someone who can teach you that vidi. What vidi? The one that he has been talking about in chapter 3. The one that shows you how to sacrifice your life for Krishna. Jagyartha karmano nyatra. That vidi, that knowledge. So here, Gauridas Pandit has done exactly that. It says, Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of Lord Nityananda. So that is association. That is a devotee. Someone who has sacrificed everything for Guru and Krishna. So, either in the pastimes of Narada or Vidura, as we find in the Bhagavatam, and so many others, Parikshit Maharaj, the Pandavas, so many. The purpose is to find the devotee. Right? Because sometimes you say, okay, we have to remember Krishna, we have to serve Krishna, we have to surrender to Krishna, etc. Right? And Prabhupada explains several parts, but there's a famous letter. I use it for some course that I give, so I know that one. And then he says, when you are further advanced, you don't only see Krishna, you see the devotees. And then he quotes some verses. So, sometimes we may say, oh, Krishna this, Krishna that, so many things. That's nice. That's great. But in fact, Krishna himself says, what is it, Adi Purana, Padma Purana? That there are some Jeme Bhakta Jana Partaha. There are some people who say they are my devotees. But they are not my real devotees. You know that verse, right? Jeme Bhakta Jana Partaha, Name Bhakta Jate Janaha, Mad Bhakta Bhaktana. Those who are devotees or my devotees, those are my real devotees. That's what Krishna explains. So the idea of these 18,000 verses, and I don't know how many thousand verses are in the Caitanya Caritamrita, is to glorify the devotee. And then we become enamored with them. Right? We develop love for them. That appreciation at least, gratitude at least. Like that. It's like when you go to the shopping center. Not that I'm encouraging, but sometimes when you have to go. And then you see how they display the mannequins and different things, shoes, this, that, the other. No, they're all bright and the senses go like, maybe, a watch, it's getting old, or phone, or whatever it is. So it becomes attractive by exposure. Dhyayato Bisaya Pumsam, Krishna says in chapter 2, take 60 something, 1 or 2. If you contemplate enough something, you will feel attracted, yeah? Dhyayato Bisaya Pumtam, Sangaste Supaya. You will, you see it a few times, that's it. I'm going to buy it, I want it. So the same psychology is applied in this case, because the devotees are presented, are showcased. This is a devotee. Right? That's why it's very important to know the life, to some extent, of the devotees that we follow. Right? Like for example, in our temples. In our temples, when I say temples, I don't say only ISKCON temples, in the home temples. Right? You have the parampara. If you're an ISKCON devotee, when you entered into a house of someone, and my services in the last few years, I had to travel to many places. And as soon as I enter somewhere, and then I'll go altars, then if you have the parampara, you say, okay, this is ISKCON parampara, okay, this is home, this is territory. And then you have Srila Prabhupada, you have Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Gaura-Kishoras Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jagannath Das Babaji, and the Goswamis. And sometimes I will ask these devotees in the congregation, who is this one? And they go like, I don't know. He's there. Came in the package. 6, 7 for the price of 1. So, right? We know about Prabhupada, but sometimes we don't know much about the others. So it's important that we know. That's the point. That we know. It's not to make someone feel bad, but rather to encourage. Why? Because, these short 4 or 5 lines purport Prabhupada is giving, right? Who remembers something interesting about the purport? Let's see if we are here. What was something interesting that Prabhupada said in the purport? Really interesting, at least interesting for me, but anyway. Anything interesting something that literally stands out? Remember? Gauridas Pandit, what did Gauridas Pandit do? When Lord Nityananda entered his village, what did he do? He jumped out from a tree. So imagine you are doing something up there, taking some fruit or cutting something, and then Lord Nityananda enters, and then you, and in his ecstasy, declared to be Angada. Right? Have you seen the Ramayana cartoons? Remember? And he jumps, I'm Angada, the prince of... And he challenges one of the demons there. Huh? Like his ecstasy, Yes? Uncommonly. And therefore... Yeah. Imagine. Sometimes it is described that his clothes will fall off, just mad in love, intoxicated. like that. So it's Krishna and the devotees, Krishna and the devotees, like that. So our learning is to observe these devotees, hear about how they do, and try to follow. Not imitate, follow. So this is the purpose of these books, to encourage us. One of our devotees, Prabhu, he used to say, "There's no Krishna without devotee." I remember the first time I heard that, I said, didn't want to accept that. But that was one of his lines. There's no Krishna without devotee. And he will make his points and quote Bhagavatam and give so many examples for all the years that he was our GDC there. And yeah, at the end he convinced me there's no Krishna. And if you just think of your own life. Let's make this real, because sometimes, we may quote verses and go here and there, and it's very alien or very foreign for us. But think your own life. How did you come to Krishna? Was it a devotee who gave you a samosa or a book or a back to Godhead or something? Isn't it? We're the devotees. Right? I mean, unless you're some special soul and Krishna came in your dream and said, look, are these crazy people dancing in the street, shaved up and dressed up funny and something like that? That generally, I haven't heard stories like that. Devotees. Sometimes Prabhupada himself, he will go and, when he arrived in New York, he had a Sankirtan program, right? On his own, he would go and sell his books, Bhagavatam, the first canto, the 3 volumes. He brought 200 sets of those, and he would go and sell them, sometimes in library and bookshops, right? And you know what his technique was? Those who bought the book from him, he will cook samosas or something, kachoris, and they will go and give them. So he'll cultivate them like that. Oh, interested. Oh, he's an interested person. Let me cultivate this person. So the idea is that a devotee, Prabhupada says, that's another thing that I didn't like to accept from Prabhupada, I remember that whenever I used to read initially Srila Prabhupada's books, I would argue with him. As proud as I am, I will argue. I'll read and read and read and says, no, and I'll write, no, it's wrong. He contradicts himself. Look how he can say it. He's give me a good smash. Here I am. But Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, and he says it several times, he says, the devotee is more merciful than the Lord. The devotee is more merciful than the Lord. How is it? How? Krishna is supreme. How can someone be more merciful than him? Huh? How is that? We're happily, admittedly crazy. Prabhupada says, yes, we're crazy for Krishna. So how is it possible? Because in the heart of the devotee, the Lord gives so much mercy, that he just can't control it like that. Who was giving the class the other day? That they were talking about, I think you mentioned when Prabhupada entered in ecstasy, when he was chanting Jaya Radha Madhava. You mentioned it, but also there was some mention. Yeah. No, I wasn't here that day, but you mentioned it another day. So sometimes Prabhupada would show these, external, I think it was Nishinghakavacha Prabhu giving class, external astika bhava, like that. But he would apologize. He says, I'm sorry, this doesn't happen often, I'm really sorry. When he chanted Jaya Radha Madhava, Also the famous one in Atlanta when he chanted Paramakaruna, right? And it happened also in Caracas in Venezuela. So all the Latins generally know that one. And the pastime, it's called the song that was never sang, because he couldn't, And then he said, Gaura-Nitai, they are so merciful that they have come all the way. You know the farthest place from India is South America? So India is here, the globe. The other side is South America. That's the farthest. So when Prabhupada was explaining, he said he had come all the way. They have come all the way because they had Gaura-Nitai. All the way for you. Then he choked up. He was about to sing and he couldn't sing. Paramakaruna. Like that. So Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya appear as devotees. They appear because, you have the Bhagavatam, and this is a devotee. Narada is a devotee, right? Parikshit Maharaj is a devotee. The Pandavas are devotees. Look, Queen Kunti. So many pastimes, so many examples. So we should have enough, right? It's 18,000 verses, 12 cantos. It's a lot of information there, right? But Krishna thought, especially in this age, let me go myself and let me show them how it is done. Him and Lord Balaram decided to come, and then they showed like that. How many of us, honestly, I know you're great preachers, you distribute prasadam industrially. So you're flooding this place with Krishna consciousness. But how many of us are willing to take a hit on our head and be, injured and bleed? How many of us? Yes, today I'm going to get hit. Today I'm going to get smashed. Not many of us. I'm not. But Lord Nityananda comes and presents all that just to show this is what it is, a devotee. This is the feeling of a devotee, that I want to give my life to Krishna, to my Guru Maharaj, and I want to help. That's all. That's the only purpose of a devotee's life, to benefit others. That's all. Yes, we have fun, meantime. Wonderful prasadam. Australian prasadam is famous around the world for its opulence. Lasagnas with this thick of cheese on top. Last night I had some, and oh my God, I was, right? So we are blessed with this movement. We are so opulent. It's, look at just the view here, right? Look at Krishna, so beautiful. Like the prabhus were saying on Prabhupada's appearance day, glorifying the opulence that Krishna has given us. And yes, that's great, but just to conclude, the question is, what are we going to do about it? Right? Run for prasadam and stack up on lasagnas and cheesecakes. What are we going to do about it? Lord Nityananda was sent by Lord Chaitanya to preach. And these great devotees in the parampara, they came down for us. They came down for us. If you think, I heard this from Lokanath Swami once. He came to Brazil. He said, think about how many devotees Krishna has engaged. Think about this one. I remember because I was translating for him. How many devotees Krishna has engaged to have you here? All the books that you have read, Krishna engaged someone, right? To type them, to produce them, to translate them, whatever, right? To bring them, transport them, sell them. All the prasadam that you have eaten, honored, he engaged. All the temples that have been built, He engaged so many people just to bring you here where you are right now. I remember. I still remember that. 1994, I think, somewhere. I was translating that class, and I was shocked. I was like, wow, it's true. Just for you. Just for you. So Krishna wants you more than, I won't say you because I know. Krishna wants me more than what I want him. That's the idea. And that's not being humble. This is just reality. So these devotees appear. These pastimes are given for us to reflect. What am I doing for my Lord? Am I really sacrificing everything for the pleasure of Lord Nityananda? Well, what Lord Nityananda has done, what are some of the things? Yes, he dances incredibly and it's beautiful, but the main thing that Lord Nityananda has done, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is his Namahata program. What does Namahata mean? The market of the holy name. Like here in Australia, you have these markets, and you go and always the devotees are there, generally distributing prasadam and like that. And everyone is in a good mood, and everything is organic and community based, and everything is like that, if you have been. So he established the Namahata. And the Namahata means that in every town, in every village, and in every home, there is Krishna consciousness. That is the program. It's not only temples, but it's also homes, which are temples. And every temple, we are meant to do two things, the two main Brahminical things: worship Krishna, right? And present Krishna to everyone. Right? That's the idea. So this is the Namahata program that Lord Nityananda started, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, based on that, he created the congregational expansion of Krishna consciousness. So it's not good enough just for us to be devotees or try to be devotees or read and chant and try to be engaged. That's it. But if we really want to please Lord Nityananda, then we have to try to get someone. At least one person in a lifetime. My Guru Maharaj, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, he always says, if we can bring one person, just one person, and then he says, a year. Not in a lifetime. And then he goes like that. One person. Prabhupada always says, double it. Prabhupada, the British Jatra, had won the marathon. I think that was in 1977. And then Prabhupada, they were all expecting, oh yes, he will say, because he will say sometimes like that, oh, you're giving me life, you're so many things. And then Prabhupada said, double it. So sometimes Prabhupada was so, appreciative, and sometimes he will take the whip and go, double it. So in that sense, if we all just bring one person this year to Krishna consciousness, we make the conscious effort to go out, outreach, and cultivate that person. There are 4 stages. Anyway, outreach, train them, cultivate them, and care for them. One person, we will double our number next year. Right? And that will definitely make Srila Prabhupada very happy. Definitely make Lord Nityananda very happy. And that is the purpose of these books. That's why Prabhupada, 2 o'clock in the morning, he will be writing them for us. So yes, let's enjoy the prasadam. I'm not against that. And let's enjoy the kirtan melas and so many things, the beauty, the opulence. But the deeper aspect of Krishna consciousness is that Atmanivedanam, of the 9 processes, the last Shravanam, Kirtanam, all that, Padasevanam, Archanam. And the last one is Atmanivedanam. That here's my heart. Here, this is my donation. Right? It's easy to pull the card, no, not so easy, but let's say, comparatively. Pull the card, now it's so easy, just put it there, beep, that's it, gone. But how many of us, definitely not me, are willing to say, okay, here it is, Krishna, have it. And once it, registers, that's it. Approved, they say, no? The little thing says approved. So are we ready to do that? So therefore, here we are trying to encourage ourselves to do it. And we try imperfectly, that's for sure. We try, right? How many years? So many years. Decades. Trying, we try. Some of you, I'm sure, in previous lives, Prabhupada also said that, right? He said, so many times devotees said, Prabhupada, no, we are so fallen, we have done this, that, broken all the principles even more. And then Prabhupada, sometimes he will say, I have created your punya, right? Because it is said, Prabhupada punyam. No, that's the verse in the Bhagavatam anyway. Because of piety, or the lack of it, we may come or reject this auspicious life. You know that? I mean, sometimes I know there's a bit of confusion. Oh, it's not important to be pious. No. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Jaiva Dharma that when you are pious, Vedic style pious, not that you give charity for something and then you go to eat burgers, no veggie burgers, that's not piety. So because there's lack of knowledge, lack of Vedic understanding, then people do good things, but then they ruin it. That's a problem. But it's good that we follow. It's good that we respect our parents, respect people, respect the land, respect. This is Vedic process. And when we are purified by doing that, then it's easier. When we see devotees, we say, oh wow, he's a nice person, she's a nice, and then we advance like that. So we need to learn these things. Okay, so we stop here. Thank you very much again, and if there's any questions, we are 1 minute.
Okay, it's not a question, just a fun fact about Gauridas Pandit is Subal.
Subal?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Subal. Huh? But he said he's Angada, so he would be both. Sometimes characters can have, right?
Well, maybe Subal was Angada and Ramayan.
Could be. That's a homework for you. You are studious, so you have to find out like that. So anyway, dancing of Lord Nityananda, Prabhu, yeah. So we can have that image in our head. How was the dancing? And then if you see that, then you have to jump from a tree or from wherever you are. And Chaitanya Bhagavat says that actually one needs to make a commitment, instead of the card or debit or credit. And the commitment is this: you approach Lord Chaitanya and then you say 3 times, I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours. That's the pastime. So if we can come and say, I'm trying at least. That is the purpose of these books. Thank you very much. Sisi Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi, Hari Hari.